Ladies and gentlemen, welcome very cordially at another press conference of the National Electoral Commission. The conference will be a summary of the second round of elections for reeves, mayors and presidents of cities. Together with us we have the head of the National Electoral Commission, Judge Wojciech Hermeliński, Deputy Head of the National Electoral Commission, Judge Sylwester Marciniak, Deputy Head of the National Electoral Commission, Judge Wiesław Koźlewicz, and members of the Commission, Judge Krzysztof Stelczyk, Judge Wiesław Buś, Judge Janusz Nemcewicz, Judge Arkadiusz Despot-Mładanowicz, Judge Wojciech Kręcisz, and Secretary of the National Electoral Commission and at the same time Head of the National Election Office, Ms. Magdalena Pietrzak. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me read out to you the announcement of the National Electoral Commission of the 5th of November, complementing the announcement of the 24th of October 2018 on aggregate results of elections for reeves, mayors and presidents of cities on the territory of Poland. Based on Article 477, Para 2 of the Act of the 5th of January 2011, the Electoral Code, the National Electoral Commission announces, based on data from announcements made by election commissioners, the aggregate results of elections for reeves, mayors and presidents of cities in Poland carried out on the 4th of November 2018. In the second round, in total, 649 reeves, mayors and presidents of cities out of 1,296 candidates were chosen. In two municipalities, there was just one candidate. The number of people eligible to vote, 9,523,401, including 598 members of EU countries not being Polish citizens. Ballot papers were issued to 4,651,687 voters, including 396 citizens of EU member states not being citizens of Poland. The total number of valid votes, 4,650,111, which is 48.83% of the total number of people eligible to vote. Number of valid votes, 4,616,405, that is 99.28% of the total number of votes. Number of invalid votes, 33,706, which is 0.72% of the total number of votes cast. Out of that, votes invalid because of putting an X mark next to names of two candidates or placing an X mark at the same time in favor and against a candidate, 17,775, i.e. 52.74% of the total number of invalid votes. B. Not placing an X mark next to the name of any candidate or not placing an X mark neither in favor nor against a candidate, 15,931 votes, that is 47.26% of the total number of votes cast. And 3, placing an X mark solely next to the name of a candidate whose name has been crossed out, 0, that is 0.00% of the total number of invalid votes cast. Results of the elections. In the second round of elections, in total, 649 reeves, mayors and presidents of cities were elected, out of which 513 reeves and mayors in municipalities below 20,000 inhabitants, out of which 344 reeves, 179 mayors. B. 136 reeves, mayors and presidents of cities in municipalities above 20,000, 7 reeves, 85 mayors and 44 presidents of cities. In total, 649 reeves, mayors and presidents of cities were elected, out of which 513 reeves, mayors in municipalities below 20,000 inhabitants. B. 136 reeves, mayors and presidents of cities in municipalities above 20,000 inhabitants. This announcement is signed by all people present here, representing the National Electoral Commission. As you can see, we hoped to be able to announce the results of elections earlier. We thought that it might be very early in the morning today, but as luck has it, there are always some problems. Initially, we had a very smooth flow of the protocols. Towards the end, there were some problems, as you remember, in the parliamentary elections. In 2015, we were waiting for the protocol from London. This time, we were waiting for the protocol from Człuchów. Problems happen, but we were able to overcome the obstacles, and we were able to announce the results. Let me make one serious remark. I would like to inform you that we were able to carry out the elections, and all voters who wanted to vote were able to cast their votes in free democratic elections, which are transparent and honest, just like in all other elections after 1989. And undoubtedly, this was possible thanks to a person who died several days ago, Minister Czaplicki. As you know, he was for many years the head of the National Electoral Election Office. He was one of the co-creators of the office, the founder and co-creator of the structures of the election structures, a person with outstanding knowledge, respected by people who work with him on everyday basis, members of the National Electoral Commission, and in particular members who were present here until 2014, because these were people who closely cooperated with him. He was appreciated and respected by members of the National Election Office, heads of the delegation offices. He was a person of outstanding knowledge, as I already remarked, and he contributed greatly to publication of many interesting articles and books. He created a comment, or he was the author of the commentary to the electoral code. He lectured in election law. He was also esteemed among constitutional law specialists and professors, people who specialized in election law, people with whom he cooperated on a regular basis. The funeral is happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the Wolski Cemetery. I don't know whether there are any further complimentary remarks that my colleagues would like to make. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the journalists? Please use the microphone. Andrzej Wierowiński, Polsat News. Even before the first round of elections, and right now we heard some information that a change is needed. Now, being wiser than before, knowing what these elections looked like, for instance, in particular, when it comes to recruitment of members of the commissions, what conclusions would you like to draw? You mean commissions, the district and territorial commissions? Well, the problem is not a new thing to us. It's always very problematic to face a situation in which we don't have enough people in district commissions. Normally, we are able to complement the panel just before the election day. This year might have been a bit difficult because we had two commissions and we needed 2 times more people. But we managed to overcome this difficulty. Commissioners handled their jobs perfectly, but maybe in the future it will be necessary to find a solution. I have already remarked on that. It will all depend on how we will evaluate that during one of our sittings. Normally we have a sitting after every election, so during which members of the National Electoral Commission discuss their problems and proposals that we would like to present to the President, Prime Minister, or the legislator. As I've already mentioned, we might think of a core of commission members, just like we have the election officials. We shouldn't have a situation in which we have new people coming and going every year. We need to train them. The trainings are short and not always sufficient. Lack of knowledge, lack of experience bring problems. So on the level of district commissions, some changes might be needed, but let me reiterate, this is something that we will be talking about during our sitting of the National Electoral Commission. Then we will be preparing a kind of memorandum for the President, the speakers of both houses of the Parliament, and the Prime Minister. This is our duty. Joanna Młonkosa, Radio Z. I think you have replied to my question. Thank you. Another question? TVP? Ladies and gentlemen, the elections are always a huge organizational undertaking. In the commissions we had almost 27,000 people, over 400,000 people in total were engaged in their works. There are different people, as has been already mentioned, and in fact there was an event like that. We were informed about it by the police. An incident occurred. The head of one of the commissions informed the police that 3 people from the commission were intoxicated. The police force were sent. They used a breath analyzer, and the people were removed from the commission. When it comes to other incidents that occurred in the second round of elections, I can only talk to you about the fact that a husband destroyed a ballot paper that was taken by his wife. He tore it into pieces publicly. The police are investigating that. Like I was informing you, after the first round, there were cases in which people were trying to present alcohol to influence the voters' decisions, but the scale of such phenomena was not great. It falls within the range of 200-something cases in a situation in which we have millions of voters and over 400,000 people working in the commissions. This was the first round. Right now, there was a bit fewer people because the second round was carried out only in several municipalities. We are, however, familiar of these incidents, and we know that they are being investigated. Next question. If there are no further questions, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. This was the conference of the National Electoral Commission. Thank you very much.